The way I describe my thought about steel now is when I first started blacksmithing, the teacher said to us, okay, when you think something, it's often very easy to think something and very difficult to make it. So what you should do is you should take a piece of plasticine and see if you can make it in plasticine, which is entirely true because plasticine responds just like hot steel. It splits and tears and has all the same responses. But my thought process over the years has been, okay, if I hand a 6-year-old child or a 4-year-old child a piece of plasticine and say, make me something cool, what are they going to do with it? And I'm fairly certain what they're not going to do is roll it out into a nice even taper and then bend it into a curly whirly spiral. That's not how plasticine is meant to be played with.
Mm-hmm.
When a small child gets a piece of plasticine, they're going to ball it up in their fists and go squish, 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 ooh, and squeeze this cool shape out of it. And you're like, wow, that's awesome. That's so mind-blowingly free. And I would never think of that. And that's how I approach steel. To me, iron is a soft material when it's hot. The finished material should express the softness that we experience while we work it.
Mm.
And I think that's it. Steel it's a wonderfully tactile material, so we should make it to increase the tactility. I mean, that's really where you go with it, right?
Right.
You want to run your hands over something, well, you might as well make it as nice to run your hands over as you possibly can.
Right.
Yeah, a friend of mine said it to me once in a comment, and it's definitely become something that I really use as kind of a design premise, is that texture should come as the result of generating form. Like all those fuller marks that I chop into the bar and those circles. I don't chop the fuller marks in because I think the fuller marks are pretty. I chop the fuller marks in because that's how I'm curving the bar. Or when I'm using fullers and things under the power hammer, I'm leaving all the imprints of the fullers and the tooling in the material because I really enjoy the texture, but I'm using that tool to, like, I use fullers and all the shaping tools. I use them like a palette knife. Like traditionally we use a fuller to separate block A from block B so that we can forge in between or draw a thing away. I think I use all those top tools under the power hammer like a palette knife.
Mm-hmm.
I use them to spread and to push and to squeeze the material. If you think of it like that, then you're not thinking. If you think this tool is a palette knife, when you look at your piece of steel, you're not thinking this is a piece of steel. Because if you think this is a piece of steel, now I must make it look like a piece of steel.
Right.
I must forge it square and I must pull this taper evenly and your brain falls into a pattern. Whereas if you say this tool is a palette knife, now you're not looking at that piece of steel as a lump of steel. You're thinking, okay, well, how can I spread it? How can I push it? How can I build that texture in there?
Oh.
I imagine it's the same for a painter. You choose a palette knife or a brush. The different tools, they give you a different technique and a different approach to it. Go and play with plasticine.
Where do you get it?
Plasticine? Yeah. Any craft store. A kid's toy store.
Okay.
I don't know.
Is it really called plasticine? That's the brand name?
It's probably called modeling clay or something here. I don't know. That's an English name for it.
Okay.
Play-Doh. That'll do. You know. Yeah. And just squish things, you know. Don't think about tapers and straight lines. Or don't think about Fibonacci spirals. They're beautiful. If you really want to look at a beautiful Fibonacci spiral, look at a conch shell, and you're never going to make anything that beautiful. So, you know, leave natural spirals up to nature, and we'll do what we do best, which is, you know, humanize things.
I like it.
Work it with your hands rather than the tools that you think you're going to use, because you can do things with your hands that you can do, because I've discovered this. You can do them with tools. It's very difficult, but you can. Like when you squeeze something in your hands, you're squeezing from both directions, and you're probably rolling it off center as you do it. Well, you can do that with sledgehammers and tooling and anvils and roll. You know, so by squeezing modeling clay in your hands, you're working it in a way that is, again, it's like that palette knife idea. You're not constraining yourself immediately by thinking I've got to hit it on the anvil with my hammer. make it go this shape. So, squish it with your hands and then figure out how you do it afterwards. Make the shape and make it really complicated, and then look at it and you'll find a way to do it. Maybe it may be painful and you may mess it up a whole bunch of times. Never happens to me, of course. That's how you learn, right? You learn how far can I turn this piece of material off center while I'm stretching it and hitting it at the same time before it tears. And the second one, it's going to tear, so you hit it one less hit. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Jake. I really appreciate today. That was an excellent conversation.
I hope you're able to edit a useful interview out of this.
Well, of course. It was great.
Thank you for inviting me on.
Blacksmith Her Radio, forging blacksmiths together.